Are the New Orleans Saints a massive sleeper team going into the 2025 NFL season? Analyst Rich Eisen believes so. He listed the black and gold in his top 5 sleeper teams. So in today's show, I'm going to go through what Rich Eisen said. I'm going to give you my reaction. I'm going to explain why I agree with this guy right here. Now, Rich Eisen did have to say some really, really interesting things around the black and gold, and he made some compelling arguments as to why you should buy stock into the New Orleans Saints. He went as far to say that I could see them being a sleeper team where they're better than you think. And I think it's important to define what a sleeper team is. By no means am I saying the New Orleans Saints are going to go undefeated, win a Super Bowl, do something absolutely crazy. But I do think it's absolutely fair to say that this team could be better than what people are saying. This team has already been written off by a lot of NFL media. And personally, I believe, as well as Rich Eisen believes, that the New Orleans Saints are actually due for a surprisingly better season than people are already saying. Now, I want to hear from you before I dive into my thoughts and what Rich Eisen had to say. What are your expectations for the black and gold this season? Are you expecting an NFC South title? Are you expecting a wild card spot? Are you just expecting 3 or 4 wins? Do you expect Tyler Shough to look terrible? What do you expect for the New Orleans Saints going into this year? First year under Kellen Moore, first year with the rookie quarterback in a long, long time. So I want to hear from you in the comment section. Now, I will say this. I don't need to see a ton this season to be satisfied with the end result. And I think that it's important to add context here. By no means do I believe the Saints are going to have an unbelievable, insane season like the Washington Commanders had last year. I don't think that that's going to happen. But I do think that there are some benchmarks that we can look for as fans to say, hey, this is what we want to see. This is what things, or how things should go. And if we have all of these things go right, then we can look back on the season and say, despite what the win-loss record says, we're actually headed in the right direction. So what I personally want to see from the New Orleans Saints, it's not much. It's just a few basic things. I want to see the development of some young players, especially the rookies like Tyler Shough, Quincy Riley, Devin Neal, Kelvin Banks. Those are guys that I have my eyes on. Not even to mention Danny Stutzman, Jonas Sinker, Vernon Broughton. I want to see how these players can contribute and fix issues that were prevalent in the Saints offense and defense for that matter last season. I also want to see a strong foundation be built because the future is where we need to be looking towards. I don't think that we need to focus so much on getting 10 wins this year. That's not going to happen if you ask me. But I do think it's realistic to say I want to see this team build a foundation of they're creating an identity, they're building a culture, they're creating a foundation and something to build on so that way we can build for the future and have sustained success moving forward. Building a culture and creating identity are very important parts of that. This team does not have a culture, and it's important for Kellen Moore to define what his culture will be and for that to be created by the roster and the coaching staff and the identity. I mean, this is a team that doesn't have much of an identity offensively, not much of an identity defensively, so it's up to Kellen Moore and the coaching staff in order to do that. And, bonus thing you could throw in here, I would love to see the Atlanta Falcons get swept. That would be glorious to see Kellen Moore pull that off. And I'm not going to sit here and say you should expect that. It feels like the Falcons in the past few years, it's been a 1-1. They win the home game, we win our home game. So I don't want to say losing both of those games will have your seat on fire, Kellen Moore, but if you win both of those games, I'm telling you right now, you could lose pretty much every other game and fans will still be fired up. It's important to establish that hatred, establish that rivalry now because Kellen Moore is filling in for a head coaching spot for a team that has a rival in the Atlanta Falcons that is a very underrated rivalry in the National Football League. So enough of what I have to say. Let's get to Rich Eisen. So for those of you who are still hanging out with us, I'm going to reward you right now with some awesome intel from Rich Eisen. Now, he had to say Tyler Shough has the benefit of a coaching change arriving in time for his arrival, and it's Kellen Moore getting his first pop at being a head coach in the NFL. So you got a former quarterback himself attached at the hip of a hand-picked draft choice at the position. And I will say I'm eager to see what Kellen Moore and Tyler Shough will be able to do over the foreseeable future. I don't want to write off Spencer Rattler. I do think that he has the ability to truly compete and potentially win this quarterback battle in New Orleans, but this is the player that Kellen Moore handpicked to be his guy. So I'm really eager to see whether or not it works out. And if it does work out, what does it look like? What are the things that we're going to be excited about moving forward? And, I think it's an exciting time to be a Saints fan. Although it may not be amazing in year one, I do think that this is going to be an interesting few years, I should say. And with the Kellen Moore-Tyler Shough duo, no guarantee it works out. But if it does, hey, I think nobody's going to be complaining. And if it doesn't, Arch Manning is right around the corner. Or hell, Garrett Nussmeier if you really want him. Now we are on the road to 50K. We're racing all the way. We're 77 subscribers needed to hit our next milestone of 47,000 subs here at Saints Now by Chat Sports. So if you haven't already and you're enjoying the content that we've been providing for you today and throughout the entire offseason, I highly encourage you to subscribe here to Saints Now by Chat Sports. We're chipping away on the road to 50K. Subscribe. Daily Saints videos by fans for fans. Now, I want to continue this conversation because Rich Eisen also pointed out some pretty interesting things, talking about the strength of the roster and the fact that there are weapons on this team that people are kind of writing off. And don't forget that this was a really, really high-powered offense the first few weeks of last season. And despite a few injuries, they still managed to put up points in a lot of matchups against some decent teams. Now, let's look at what Rich Eisen said. You look at the team, and they do have some weapons at Tyler Shough's disposal. It's quick guys. Wide receivers, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandin Cooks, Bub Means, Cedrick Wilson, DPJ. You also got Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill, and Foster Moreau are your tight ends. But it doesn't stop there. Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, Cam Akers. He's the fourth stringer right there. I mean, there are some parts and there are some things in this offense that the New Orleans Saints can work with. Not to mention Devin Neal, not to mention some of the other players that the New Orleans Saints have brought in, not to mention the fact that they could still go and sign a player like Amari Cooper or a Keenan Allen or a Gabe Davis. So there's still moves that could be made, and there are things to buy stock into. And like I said, do not forget that this was a high-flying, high-scoring offense. Historically, one of the greatest starts to a season in the National Football League. The first 2 weeks, the Saints won 95-29 in combined scores. That is absolutely incredible. Of course, we know how things panned out. But injuries derailed this season and derailed the New Orleans Saints last year. And if injuries do not strike and the injury bug does not bite the New Orleans Saints, then I'm here to tell you I do think that this is a team that can really put up some points. And obviously Derek Carr is gone. Obviously you have a rookie quarterback or a young quarterback starting this year. But I do believe Kellen Moore has some weapons he can work with. Rashid Shaheed is one of the most electric football players in the league when he has the ball in his hand or whenever it's headed downfield to his hands. I also believe we have not even scratched the surface of what Chris Olave is capable of doing. You have really nice players in Alvin Kamara and Kendre Miller. You keep Kendre Miller healthy. He proves that he can be on the field. He does have some pop there. I think that this is a team that has underrated talent and underrated players that just quite frankly have been way overlooked throughout the entirety of the offseason. So we've talked about some of the weapons, and now it's time to say a prayer to the football gods. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in praying to the football gods. Please, please, please let Alvin Kamara have 1,000 rushing yards. Please, football gods, keep him healthy. Keep the O-line healthy. Come on. We need it. It's been way too long. It's been a journey that has not happened and a stat that shockingly has not happened yet for Alvin Kamara's career. One of the best all-around running backs, one of the best offensive weapons in the National Football League, but has never crossed the threshold of 1,000 yards on the ground. I want to see that happen, and I believe that the New Orleans Saints can do that, and Alvin Kamara can be a big crutch for the New Orleans Saints offense. Rich Eisen continued by saying they're in a supposedly easier division, but I don't think it is, talking about the NFC South. Tyler Shough is going to get an opportunity. It's not an easy schedule to say the least, but there are some winnable games here for a team that can put together some points. Like I mentioned, this is a team that can put together points, and we're going to show you guys what the New Orleans Saints schedule looks like. We're going to go through the schedule and everything here in just a moment. I think that there's some really good intel here, and I think there's some really important things to discuss. So we're going to take a look at the rest days, the schedule, and predictions of what to expect this year. And Rich Eisen has more to say, but really quick, if you guys missed out on the absolute heaters that the Chubbies website has, I'm telling you, the 4th of July weekend, I looked absolutely fresh. I was the best dressed there. Shout out to me. Shout out to my dog, dude. Shout out to my beautiful girlfriend, Maddie. We were looking fresh. We were looking fly. It's because this guy was rocking Chubby shorts. I absolutely love their swimsuits. I love their shorts. I love their products. I've been rocking their gear since high school. So having them sponsor my YouTube channel at the young age of 26 years old is just a dream come true. And the summer is here. It's in full swing, which means it's time to let the dogs out. Hoo! And by dogs, of course, we mean your legs. If your pups have been stuck in jeans or sweats for the past few months, fellas, it's time to set them free with the lined swim collection from Chubbies. Whether you're poolside, lakeside, or oceanside, you're going to be on that long-awaited vacation wishing you had some absolutely fresh swim trunks, and these trunks are ready to travel. Life's too short for uncomfortable swimwear, so these babies are set up for all-day comfort with quick-dry stretch fabric and a built-in liner that actually does its job. No more chafing, no more swamp ass, no more mesh disasters. I promise you, they are the most comfortable swimsuits in the game, but the shorts are also so fresh. They look good, they feel good, they're flattering, and I'll tell you what, fellas, I know the company's called Chubbies. They're going to make your girlfriend give you a little bit of a chubby as well. So whether you're suiting up for cannonballs, cookouts, or casual Fridays, Chubbies has you covered. For a limited time, Chubbies Shorts is giving our listeners 20% off your order with code CHAT. That's chubbiesshorts.com. That's code CHAT at chubbiesshorts.com. Support the show and let them know we sent you. Summer's here. Dress like it in Chubbies. You can find the link in the comments and description of this video. I made it clickable for you. Go get geared up and make sure you're the best dressed the rest of this summer and into the early days of the fall with Chubbies Shorts. Polos, swimsuits, shorts, the best gear you could possibly want. chubbiesshorts.com. Use code CHAT to get 20% off. So the New Orleans Saints, in case you didn't know, they actually have the second easiest strength of schedule for this year. With a .419 opponent win percentage, the New Orleans Saints actually go into this season with another easy schedule. It feels like the last 2, 3, 4 seasons in a row, they have had super duper easy schedules. They've been at the bottom, or I should say at the top of the strength of schedule, like easiest, I would say. They've had very, very easy schedules. The past few years have not made the playoffs, and I'm really, really hoping that this is the year they do it. Again, expectation is not that they do that, but the hope can be there. Now let's remind you what the schedule looks like. Week 1, you're going to take on the Arizona Cardinals, who are not a strong team in my opinion. I picked off Kyler Murray back in high school, flag football, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's an easy win. If I can get an interception, I sure as hell believe Justin Reed and Jonas Sanker, Kool-Aid McKinstry, one of those 3 guys can walk away with a pick as well. The Niners, I'm honestly going to say, I don't think that that's going to be a shocking game if you win it. I don't believe in that team. They've taken steps back, and to be totally honest, I don't think that they're as good as people are saying they are. Last year, I don't think was a fluke. I think they're truly kind of headed downhill. Seahawks, I do think that could be an interesting team. We'll have to see what happens with Sam Darnold. I don't expect to win at the Bills, but I do appreciate that game in Buffalo will be earlier in the season rather than in the snow, although it would have been fun to do a snow game for what it's worth. Week 5 versus the Giants, I'm sorry. Russell Wilson has not moved the needle for me in a long time, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's a winnable game. Patriots, maybe that's a winnable game. I'm eager to see Mike Vrabel and Drake May as a duo. I think that could be a much better team this year than they were last year. The Bears, big questions around Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. Can they put it all together? If they can, that's going to be a good team. If not, I do think that's a winnable game. Dennis Allen, notably the defensive coordinator for Chicago. Week 8 versus the Buccaneers. Those games are always tough. The NFC South games are winnable, but they're not guaranteed to be wins, so that one's going to be a big one that I have my eyes on. I'm also circling Week 9 at the Rams because I think that that's going to be a big litmus test to see how good this football team truly is. The Rams are a quality opponent, but the Saints can possibly make some noise if they can compete and potentially beat the Rams. Week 10 at the Panthers. I don't understand why everyone's sitting here saying that the Panthers are going to be some insanely good team. I get it. Bryce Young has been developing nicely, but it just still hasn't been enough for me to really believe in him. I guess, yeah, they beat the Saints last year, but when we're fully healthy, we hung 40 on them. Week 11, that bye week is at a really nice timing. Week 12 versus the Falcons. I am circling that game on my calendar. That one is one of the most important games of the season, in my opinion, especially coming off the bye. I have very big expectations and very big hopes for that one. Week 18 at the Dolphins. Again, I think they may not be as good as people are saying. The Bucs we've talked about, Panthers we've talked about, Jets. Who's to say that Justin Fields and Aaron Glenn are going to be a match made in heaven? That could be a winnable game. The Titans, I think, are a winnable game. And, of course, the Falcons are the Falcons. So death taxes and them losing games to the New Orleans Saints. All in all, I do believe for the New Orleans Saints, it's fair to say that they could win at least 6 games. I'm not going to say that they're going to win all of those games that are a toss-up. But I think that they could win some of them. If the ball bounces in their favor, if the coin flips in their favor, if a call goes their way, then you can walk away with some of those games stealing a win. And I do think that Rich Eisen has made some good points that this isn't the easiest strength of schedule. This isn't the easiest team this isn't like the easiest division, I was trying to say, but it isn't super duper strong. So when it comes to the NFC South on the rest days, the Saints also are very, very low when it comes to the rest days. This NFL kind of screwed the Saints, to be totally honest, because the net rest days for each NFL team, the Saints are at the bottom of the list. And in terms of the NFC South, the Buccaneers get +2 rest days. The Saints get -14, meaning across the whole league or across the whole season in terms of when you're playing, because the Saints don't have any primetime games, but they're playing against teams that have primetime games, blah, 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 blah. -14. So the Saints got screwed, and that's a big, big difference between these top 3 teams right here. So, like I said, I believe the Saints will win at least 6 games, but offensively, there's a lot of things that have to work out, but it doesn't stop there. The defensive side of the football is just as important, if not more important. And Rich Eisen made some really, really interesting points talking about the fusion of the old veterans and the young players. We're going to show you some of these key players that he's talking about in a moment. Defensively, let's see if the guys who are veterans can blend with some of the young players and shock some people. That's the big thing. Can they blend with the youth? These 4 players on defense are key veterans, in my opinion. You can make arguments for other guys on the roster as well. Could include Devon Godshaw if you really wanted to. But I think right here, these are your main starters on defense that really need to have a good mesh and good chemistry, and they can easily be ushering in the next era of Saints football. So these key veterans need to work alongside these potential future stars on the New Orleans Saints defense. And if these players can pan out, if Kool-Aid McKinstry can take over as a CB1, Alontae Taylor could just be a little bit more consistent. Danny Stutzman, if he can just be a stud. Same with Jonas Sanker. I have high expectations for both of those rookies, but Brian Brzee, let's see him be a better run stopper, not just a great pass rushing defensive tackle. These 5 players are potential stars on the defensive side of the football that have a lot of things going for them as we move to the future of Brandon Staley's defense. But I think there's one player that there's a lot of eyes on, and that is edge rusher Chase Young. He signed a pretty extensive contract. He had 66 pressures last year, only 5.5 sacks. I want to see pressures turn into production. Only 26 years old, has a lot of really nice upside, and I do believe in this player, and I think he needs to put it together this season. If he can get to double-digit sacks, I'm telling you right now, the Saints defense will be looking spectacular, especially led by Chase Young on the pass rush department. And Brandon Staley's defense, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be different, and I'm excited to see what it looks like moving forward. It's expected to be a 3-4 base scheme, meaning you have 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, and 4 defensive backs. So you have your 3 down linemen, 2 edge rushers, and you got your 4 linebackers, or 2 linebackers kind of in the middle. The 2 linebackers are out here, your edge rushers, and then you have 4 defensive backs. The core principles, obviously, being versatility, flexibility. They want players who can make different types of plays against different types of offenses, because no 2 offenses in the National Football League are the exact same, so you got to be able to beat all of them, or at least the ones you're playing against. And I do believe that Bo Davis hire for the defensive line will be massive. My big thing with the Saints last year, coverage, sure, it got busted at times, but if the pass rush gets there, then that can alleviate some of the pressure for the defensive back. So Bo Davis being hired on top of the change in scheme, I think is going to be massive for the pass rush and for the defensive line specifically. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Nobody in this video, nobody out there is saying that the New Orleans Saints are going to win the Super Bowl. If somebody is saying it, they're just trying to get a reaction out of you. I do not believe the Saints will compete or win the Super Bowl. They won't even get close. But I do think it's fair to say that people have been saying the Saints are going to be terrible. And I think it's fair to call them a sleeper considering they will be better than what people are saying. A lot of people are writing out the Saints. They're going to be the first overall pick last year. Going to take Garrett Nussmeier. They're going to blah, 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 do whatever, all that nonsense. I genuinely believe the Saints are going to be a lot better than people think. And if you disagree with me, then let me know down in the comment section. So are the New Orleans Saints a sleeper team? I feel like both me and Rich Eisen have made a pretty compelling argument over the past 20-ish minutes. So type yes, type no in the comment section. And for what it's worth, I want to show you just the rest of Rich Eisen's top 5 sleeper teams. So he had the New Orleans Saints at number 5. And then on top of that, he had the number 4, the New England Patriots. That's fair, I think. Carolina Panthers. I get where he's going with that one. I just think that's like I won't believe it until I see it, to be totally honest. The Raiders, I think that's totally fair to call them a sleeper team. Adding Geno Smith into the fold, Pete Carroll, Ashton Jeanty, Brock Bowers. I think that's or Max Crosby too. I think they're a sleeper team for sure. The 49ers, maybe not. Who knows? But this is what Rich Eisen had to say. And if you guys want to see what I have to say on social media in between these videos, you can hit me up on X, IG, or TikTok. My usernames are as follows. They're all linked in the comments and description of this video. And I appreciate the Who Dat Nation for taking some time out of their day to hang out with us on a Monday. So Saints fans, y'all stay golden. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.